Chinese girls would be passing us by and smile at us and flirt with us, while in the meantime, a lot of these guys were just talking about them with disrespect, like they're prostitutes. Okay, good afternoon. Let me talk to you today about something that has bothered me a lot here in Asia. I think it may even be something that has bothered me maybe more than most other things that I've encountered here in Asia. And that is what I call the inferiority complex of Chinese people. Now don't get me wrong, it's not only the Chinese people that suffer from this, it's pretty much every Asian group that suffers from this to a certain extent. But to me, among whom it has seemed the strongest is among Chinese. It is so extreme that you see it in almost every aspect of societies in Asia where you have Chinese people, whether it's Singapore, Hong Kong, China itself. Now don't get me wrong, I look European enough to have experienced the advantages of looking European here in Asia. But that doesn't take away that I'm very bothered by it. Some people just don't like it, even if they experience the perks. I also know Europeans and American whites who don't like it. But it's very painful to see, and one of the worst things is actually that Chinese don't even realize it themselves, how they are I would say inferiorizing themselves in front of white people. If you live in Asia and among Chinese, you will really quickly notice that Chinese people admire white people. Okay, they're mentally still colonized in a way that they think that, maybe even unconscious, a lot of them wouldn't admit it, but that they feel that they're inferior to white people. And on the other hand, they feel too good for non-white people. So when it's Indians, Africans, Arabs, South Asians in general, it doesn't matter. With regards to non-white people that are not Chinese, their behavior and their attitudes is completely different as compared to the way they approach other Chinese people, and especially the way they approach white people. It's the only group I've ever seen in my life. I've dealt with Indians, I've dealt with Malays, I've dealt with Japanese, traveled around the world, I've dealt with Arabs, I've dealt with Africans. The only group that I've ever encountered in this world that is so obviously, that has such an obvious racist mindset is Chinese people. And then in particular, the girls. So, what I've seen among Chinese people is very simple. They act normal to other Chinese people and East Asians, such as Koreans and Japanese. They act inferior to white people, and they are extremely friendly and extremely nice. And when it's dark-skinned people, they act very avoidant and very hostile. And it's super clear to see. You know, that's one of the worst things. It's so blatant and so open that a lot of Chinese don't even realize that they are doing it, because it's so normalized in their culture. For me, that is very problematic. I hate it. I hate seeing it. And you see it in every aspect of social life among Asians and in particular among Chinese. Of course, they all stem from a colonized history. We are very recently out of the colonization history, or I should say history of colonization. So that mindset is still there. You know, it takes generations for people to get rid of that mindset, that inferior mindset. But there's another important part, and of course it's also related to colonization, but it's also related to Chinese culture itself, which is also part of the ancient Chinese culture, and that is their tendency to admire light skin. Okay, all Asians love light skin. Don't get me wrong, all Asians love light skin, But the Chinese are so obsessed with light skin, which is, in my personal opinion, with all due respect, ridiculous. But they are so obsessed with light skin, you cannot expect from a culture that is so obsessed with light skin to treat people respectfully when people already differ so much in skin color. Okay, the Chinese culture is so focused on light skin, especially among females. White skin is so important. They will not walk in the sun, they will wear an umbrella, they will always use sunscreen stuff. They will bully and ostracize people in their family who have dark skin. They will avoid people with dark skin and so forth. So in my opinion, a natural result of a culture that is so obsessed with skin color, you get a culture that is very, very racist, that starts to behave very negative towards people who have dark skin and who start to pedestalize and admire people with light skin. Okay? That's a natural result of a culture that is obsessed with skin color. Okay? And you see it everywhere. Okay? If you go to Chinese universities, whether it's in Singapore or in Hong Kong or even in mainland China, when you go to universities, they will always look for people with Western degrees. And guess who are the ones that get in with Western degrees? Most preferably white people. Okay? So you can be a black guy with top Harvard degrees or whatever. They want a white guy. In fact, you even have job vacancies in mainland China for example, English teacher or whatever, and they specifically say native English teacher who is Caucasian. Okay? The skin color is so important apparently in Chinese culture that they don't care how talented you are. They only care about the fact that you have light skin. Okay? You can be the best English teacher in the world, but if you're black or brown, they don't want you. They only want a white guy or a white girl. Okay? So that is one thing. Also, you would see the highest positions in societies like Hong Kong or Singapore. The only foreigners that get there are white people. So even though, okay, these people have been colonized for centuries and they were treated like crap, yet they still pedestalize the group of people who in history has mistreated them the most. But groups who have never mistreated them, okay, Indians, Africans, who have never mistreated them, they treat them like crap. And that is just pathetic and painful to see. And you also see it on the dating market. It's just so sad to see like all these Chinese girls that want a Caucasian guy. And they don't even realize how they are inferiorizing themselves by wanting a Caucasian guy. I mean, like seriously, why don't you just look for a guy that has a great personality, is a great person, instead of like focusing on skin color? Seriously, if you go on Tinder as well, you know, even the people literally have sometimes in their profile that they're, oh, I've never had a Caucasian guy. I'm looking for a Caucasian guy. You know? And what I always say is that when you focus on superficial aspects of a person, you will reward mediocrity. Okay? So that is why if you only focus on skin color, you won't find talent, because you focus on a very superficial aspect of a person. So what you see are all these Chinese girls here in Asia walking around with like fat old ugly guys, but hey, they're white. And it's just such an inferiorized mindset that you, whatever the cost, want a white guy. You know? Like among the guys, it's much less bad. You don't see a lot of guys wanting a white girl. But you see these Chinese girls they just want a white guy. Ugly, old, doesn't matter. They want a white guy. And it's just so pathetic that you single out one group of people because they were your colonial master before, whether you were treated like crap and your ancestors were treated like crap and you were enslaved. I remember seeing in Hong Kong documentary about the colonial times, where you literally had buildings, only white people, no dogs and no Chinese allowed. But what do you see now? Chinese women doing everything to get a Caucasian man. And that's just what one would call in the social sciences colonial mindset. Okay, Google it. It's called colonial mindset. And it's a very sad, self-inferiorizing way of seeing yourself as less than another group of human beings. So you accept mediocrity or even low lives as long as they have the skin color that you like. And that is just, in my opinion, extremely, extremely sad to see. Don't get me wrong. I have a lot of Chinese friends. I had relationships with Chinese women. In fact, I think Chinese women often are very gorgeous, and there are many, many great and interesting people among the Chinese. It's not an individual attack to people as an individual. This is more meant as a generalized critique of Chinese people and Chinese culture, in particular the ones in Asia. The focus and the obsession with skin color is, in my opinion, pathetic. It's disgusting. And it puts you in a very, very awkward position because people look down on you. In fact, I remember an experience I had in Hong Kong. I was with my European friends, and Chinese girls don't realize how it's being spoken about them. Because when you become so easy, and when you become a group of women that so blatantly and so obvious pedestalizes and admires another group of people, that group of people will look down on you, will not respect you. And I remember, and this happened regularly when I lived in Hong Kong and I was among Europeans, among my friends, or I would meet some Europeans and we would talk because I'm from the Netherlands, so you have something to speak about. He would be from Britain, for example. Pretty much the majority of time they would speak about Chinese girls as with a lot of disdain, with a lot of disrespect. Sometimes even would say gooks, about Chinese girls. Oh, I'm gonna get myself a gook tonight because I want to have some sex. Or I love Asia, they would say. I love Asia because we're treated like gods over here. And they would speak with so much disrespect about Chinese girls because they're so easy. They're prostituting themselves for white guys. And while they were speaking negatively and with disrespect about Chinese girls who would just give themselves away, in the meantime, Chinese girls would pass us and smile at us. I mean, it's that cynical. Chinese girls would be passing us by and smile at us and flirt with us, while in the meantime, a lot of these guys were just talking about them with disrespect, like they're prostitutes, because they give themselves away so easily, because they're so obsessed having a man that has no melanin in his skin, that has no skin protection. And it's painful to see. It's just painful to see a group of people that is inferiorizing themselves so much. Even though colonial times are over, Europeans are nothing better than any other group. And it's just, what are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing? Where's your self-respect? Yeah, it's just shocking. If you read Frantz Fanon, his book, it's called what was it again? Dark skin, white mask, dark skin, or something. Black skin, white masks, something. I forgot the title. And he speaks about the colonial time of. During the colonial time, there's a black person living in France, and he also said that in his native country, these women would try to marry a white guy because they could escape their marginalized position. But for Chinese, they're free of colonization now. Yet they are still mentally colonized, thinking that if they marry or date a white guy, they bring themselves they bring themselves towards a higher social status. It's a pure indoctrination. It's very, very sad to see. And what I find the most frustrating thing is that one group of people gets unfairly rewarded for nothing, just for living, just for walking around. They get rewarded with smiles, kindness, privileged treatment, girls. Like I said, even though I have experienced the perks, because I look European enough to experience the advantages, I am not the kind of person that likes it. It disgusts me. And so what disgusts me the most is that you have one group of people that gets all the rewards, the kind smiles, the privileged treatment, that extra effort when you're in a restaurant. These girls who smile at you and wanna go in a picture with you. Now I am 6'4", I'm 1.95 meters, so I think that plays a role as well for being so tall. But you have one group of people that get all that privilege, all that kindness, and they say, oh, I love Asia. Asian people are so nice. Ask white people who went to Asia. They will always say, Asian people are so nice, they're so friendly. And then I'm like, then you have the other side. It's people who are dark, who have a completely different experience in Asia. Okay? Not the kind smiles. Nobody wants to sit next to you in the train. Nobody wants to sit next to you in the bus. Girls will never date you because you're black or dark. No kind, privileged treatment. People crossing the road when they see you. People making disgusted, how can I say that, gestures. And that is what disgusts me the most. You probably have an equal amount of nice people and bad people in all groups, yet one group of people gets continuous rewards purely for the way they are born. And other groups of people get continuous punishments purely for the way they are born. It's so unfair and it's so mentally destructive to people who do not deserve that disadvantaged treatment. And it's also just destructive to treat people with privilege who don't deserve it as well, because it makes them arrogant, they start to look down on you, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Colonization is over. Stop positioning yourself lower than another group of people. It's embarrassing, it's painful, it's shameful. Have some self-respect. Okay? Respect your own kind. Respect everyone, actually. Respect all people. Indians, blacks, whites. It doesn't matter. Arabs. It doesn't matter. Respect everyone equally. There are beautiful people in every group of people. Okay? Stop lowering yourself for one group of people, because they're nothing more special than you are. But by treating them like a king and treating them like a queen, they will start behaving like a king and a queen. Okay? And you as particular Chinese women, I'm speaking to you. You as gorgeous women in general, you have no need to pedestalize another group of people. Okay? There are beautiful people in every group. Once you open your mind for other groups of people, you will start to realize what you've done. How selective you've been and how you've been mistreating other groups of people just because they're dark or just because they have very specific features, you know, that are particular to that group of people, like a big nose. You know, like, yeah, it's something that I hope I can, with my little video that probably nobody is going to see, I hope I wake some people up with this, because it just doesn't get discussed. And in the meantime, in the West, they see Asia as the sex paradise. Because why? Because Asian girls just give themselves freely to them. We're not even talking about professional prostitutes. People go to Asia in the West because they know they can get the usual girls easily. And it becomes a sex paradise. Don't you think that is that is just embarrassing, and it's just so, don't you think it's just you're destroying your own self-respect by doing this? Don't you think you're worthy as a human being equally to any other group? And don't you think it's disgusting that when you're looking at one person because he's dark skinned, you treat him like crap, and when you're looking at another person because he has light skin, you treat him like a king? Don't you think that's pathetic? Even though the one who you treat like a king may be a rapist, and the guy with dark skin may be the kindest guy you've ever met? Don't you think it's ridiculous? Wake up, you know? Stop humiliating yourself. And in particular, Chinese women. Stop humiliating yourself, okay? And stop mistreating people who are darker than you or who come from a country that your culture stereotypes because you have been mentally colonized, okay? Stop looking down on Africans. Stop looking down on Indians. Start treating people with respect, and stop treating other people with privilege. Just try and treat people equally. That's all I wanted to say today.